So we're going to change the agenda a bit. Next bill will be House File 1186, Representative Nash's bill, and I will move that House File 1186 be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill. There's also an A1 amendment. Did you want me to move that, Representative Nash?
Mr. Chair, if you would.
Okay, so I will move the A1 amendment to House File 1141. Did you want to explain the amendment, or does this just put it in the shape you'd like?
It just puts it in the shape that I'd like, and I can explain it as I run through the bill.
Okay, so any discussion to the A1 amendment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the A1 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the amendment's adopted. Representative Nash, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. House File 1186 solves a problem that I think you probably all have had phone calls on. During the previous election and then this past election, I got lots of phone calls, and I'm sure you did too, of people who were freaking out saying, I've just gotten 7 ballots in the mail today. They didn't. It was a ballot request form, and I think that a way that we can address this moving forward is to have a requirement for both the exterior envelope and then for the ballot request form itself to be very clearly marked that this is not an actual ballot. I mean, yes, we've gotten to that point where we have to remind people that this is not an actual ballot, but many organizations on both sides of the aisle do put out ballot request forms. It is completely legal. I'm not trying to change that at all. But what I'm trying to address is that there is a great deal of confusion when you go to your mailbox, or people go to their mailboxes and they open it up and there's a ballot request form from potentially 5, 6, 7 different organizations all in one day. I think that the best thing that we could possibly do is to, on the outside of the envelope, say this is not an actual ballot, and on the potential interior contents, and if there's if there's a sample ballot, that this is not an actual ballot. Pretty straightforward. It actually made it all the way into the omnibus last year that came up just a little bit short. So I would appreciate your support. And speaking of support, there is a letter in your packet from both the League of Minnesota Cities, the Association of Minnesota Counties, and MACO, all saying that they support this as well. And I can tell you from speaking to many elections administrators around the state that they appreciate this very straightforward bill that will make it easier for our constituents maybe to not pick up the phone and call one of us and kind of freak out. So that's the bill, Mr. Chair, and I would stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative Nash. Questions? Representative Coulter.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't actually have any questions, but Representative Nash, just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward. My wife teaches adult basic education and works with a number of new Americans, new citizens who haven't participated in a great many elections, and she actually brought this same issue up to me because a number of her students were just very confused about what they were getting in the mail. And so I do think this will clear up some of that confusion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Coulter. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Nash, I have a number of questions and concerns related to this. So just to begin with, I have, there's a wonderful woman who lives in my district who I first met in 2018, who, when I went to her door, she told me that she had always voted, but she wasn't sure that she could make it out to vote any longer. And I said, well, you could vote by absentee. And she said, I don't really know how to do that. I don't have a computer, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I went and got her, I had some absentee ballot applications in my car. I went back, grabbed one, gave it to her. And you know, every 2 years since then, she contacts me around election time, gives me a call, and asks for an absentee ballot application, which I mail to her. And I note, just as at the beginning level here, so would this apply to my letter to this constituent with the absentee ballot application, in particular, noting that, I mean, I don't want to be self-important, but I think I'm a government official. So when under section 1, subdivision 1, A2, line 1.13, it says the application or ballot has not been included at the request of a government official. Does that mean that I can't send her an absentee ballot application?
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The goal of that statement is that it does not originate with you, that it originates with the person who is requesting it. So obviously we have the ability to send those out, but it has to originate with their request.
Representative Stevenson.
Okay, well, I think you might want to think about that language, because I think that the way that that's drafted, it is not clear, and I think that it actually could preclude, I almost read that as like, I can't send out absentee ballot applications as a government official. I guess the other question is, if these types of communications that you're concerned about, are there any other disclaimer requirements already in law for these?
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't know one. Perhaps Mr. Gehring he just gave me the head shake across the room that no, there is not. Again, Representative Stevenson, this is not a gotcha bill. This is for the good of the order, and we're trying to address, from your own side and our side as well, just a problem that we're seeing out there. I do understand that there may be things that we need to tighten up, but I know this is being laid over, and we can certainly work on that together as we have on other bills, that we can make it so that you have comfort to make sure that you don't feel that you're being precluded from mailing your constituent a ballot request form at her request.
Representative Stevenson.
Well, Mr. Chair, Representative, I didn't mean to suggest it's a gotcha bill. I just mean to suggest that I have concerns about it.
Sure.
And I regret that I didn't talk to you about it before today. I'm a little busy. But looking at it, I guess the other disclaimer piece that I'm wondering is, I would think that if I sent out absentee ballots, I would have to put a prepared and paid for thing on there. And I would think that if my political party sent out absentee ballot request forms, they would have to put a prepared and paid for disclaimer on there. Or if a political committee did it, they'd have to put a prepared and paid for. That's more what I was talking about with the disclaimer requirements. I think that that's already required on here. I also will just note that I'm a little concerned about the sample ballot language and what constitutes a sample ballot and how we're defining that. I just have a lot of questions about this bill, and maybe we can talk a little bit offline about it.
Thank you. Any additional member discussion? Okay, Representative Bonner.
Just a really quick clarification. So I actually do think this bill has some merit, because it is confusing a little bit. And I think there is a number of folks who've been confused getting these in the mail at what it actually is. And so I actually appreciate the effort on this. I do think I would like to see the disclaimer, as Representative Stephenson mentioned, to make sure that the folks sending these out are clear on who's sending them. I think that makes sense. But the other thing I wondered is, and I know that we try not to be too prescriptive, but on section 1.15, we talk about the sample ballot is enclosed. The sample ballot is not an official ballot. And I personally wonder if we should actually prescribe the language so it's consistent across these forms, that says something across the top, like it must say not a ballot. This is a application for a ballot, or whatever we want to say. I'm not wordsmithing it right now, but the point is, I wonder if from a consistency standpoint, it might be helpful to actually think about what language we want to put on there and be consistent, so that it is very, very clear across the top of each form. But I like the idea, so I'm actually hoping that we might be able to incorporate that into it.
Representative Nash?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Bonner. That sounds like a great idea. I mean, the goal here is to remove any potential confusion when someone walks out to their mailbox and opens something from either your side of the aisle or my side of the aisle, trying to get them to fill out a ballot request form. There often are absentee ballot request forms that also include a sample ballot, and we want to make sure that nobody thinks that that's actually the ballot they're going to go and cast, because there has been a great deal of confusion, and I'd bet all the money in my wallet against all the money in your wallet that well, that's Garofalo. But I would offer that you probably have gotten these same calls as well. And we're just trying to make it easier for the people out in the districts to not be confused, because we want our elections to be very straightforward and unconfusing. And I think that this is a step in the right direction.
Representative Bonner, follow up?
One last question. In the bill that we had last year, there was an additional provision, I think subsection B, I don't have it in front of me, and I'm wondering why we did not include that language in this version of the bill.
Representative Nash.
Well, Mr. Chair, this is as it was introduced the last time, and I think that was done in conference committee with the Senate, which I find a mysterious and confusing place. So I think I just went with the language that was as we introduced it the first time. So we certainly, as I know the chair has made clear that this is going to be laid over for potential inclusion. I'm happy to work with that. If you really liked that, if you love the Senate, then we can talk about that as well. But so we can talk about if you like that language, we can try to find a way to find a home for it.
Yeah. Representative Bonner.
Thank you, Representative Nash. Well, I know that we share that we do not always appreciate the efforts of the Senate. They do occasionally have good ideas, so it may be something we want to look at and see if it is meritorious to include it in the final draft. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there was that once.
Yep. Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Representative Nash, for bringing this forward. Any place that we're, improving the cycle, and we all can agree, not confusing the voters is a very good thing. But after Representative Bonner brought up that statement, I just wanted to say, I think it would be very, very easy instead of struggling with words, because then we have different font sizes. It could be in a different place. People could not see it. I would suggest adding into this bill simply a watermark is across the sample ballot, and that would hopefully eliminate all confusion. Thank you.
Representative Nash.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm open to whatever, and really, I am willing to work with everyone on this committee and in the legislature, because this is just one of those problems that we all experience, and this is for the good of the order. So I appreciate the comments and would stand for any further questions, Mr. Chair.
You're in luck. We have one. Representative Greenman.
Thank you, Mr.
Should've
Chair, and thank you, Representative Nash. And I remember from last year the work, and I appreciate talking to you about this in the retiring room, because I think we heard, especially in 2020, when there was sort of a rush to make sure that folks could be able to vote safely with an absentee ballot. Lots of folks sent out lots of things, and I think that in addition to this, there's a few other things that we've done in this committee that we've been looking at that help address that problem too. Creating making the list public of folks who have requested absentee ballots that 48 other states do. We passed in this committee, and that will allow whoever is sending out these things to take folks off their list once they already know that folks have requested an absentee ballot. We've talked about the permanent early voting list, which for folks who want to get a ballot each time will take them presumably off that list, and if that's public. So I think that these are all, there's no one size fits all, but these are all pieces. And I appreciate the conversation. I think that I was just pulled up what we did, and one of the things there was some confusion about last year, and I think that we should work on is what is a sample ballot. I think we throw that term around of, a sample ballot, people will say is like a lit piece with people's names on it, or there's some that actually look pretty close to a sample ballot. So since you're laying it over, I think we did do some work and got into conference committee a sort of definition of what is and is not a sample ballot that will be helpful, because I think we use language around here, but it is not always clear. So I appreciate the willingness of the author of you, Representative Nash, to work on this, and I think that as we as a committee think about this issue, we should think about all the ways that we're ensuring that voters have clarity and that they have access to absentee ballot applications. That I think if the Secretary of State's folks were here would say is something that Minnesotans choose and prefer and like to have the ability to use the absentee ballot process.
Thank you. Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you for hearing a Republican-authored bill. It's appreciated, and hopefully this is a new habit that you're establishing.
Thank you, Representative Torkelson. We'll see. But no, I certainly endeavor to hear bills from all sides. So any additional member discussion? Representative Nash, any closing remarks?
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and to all here, I'm happy to work on the things that you've expressed as concerns or suggestions. Once again, we're trying to solve an actual problem. Oftentimes we write bills that maybe try to address a problem that sort of exists for a handful. Anybody who gets these in the mail is generally confused. So I think that if we can roll up our sleeves and work together, then we're in a good place. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, thank you, Representative Nash. With that, I renew the motion that House File 1186 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill.